The discovery. Jared wiped the sweat off his forehead with the back of his greasy hand. The asteroid's dim light flickered weakly across the endless rows of broken machinery and rusted parts scattered in the junkyard. This wasn't the life he had imagined. Once, he had dreams of building starships for Earth's greatest fleets. Now he was scavenging through scrap, looking for anything worth selling or repairing. He kicked a piece of twisted metal in frustration. It clanged hollowly, echoing into the silence. "Worthless junk," he muttered. His oxygen tank hissed softly as he took another breath, reminding him how far away he was from the comforts of home. Jared had taken a gamble coming to this asteroid field, hoping for a big find. So far, it had been nothing but disappointment. Just as he was about to give up for the day, something caught his eye. A faint shimmer beneath a pile of broken ship panels. It wasn't much, just a glint of something silvery, but it was enough to spark his curiosity. Jared pulled out his rusted plasma cutter and started clearing the debris. Each piece he moved revealed more of what was hidden beneath, and his heart began to race. When the last panel was lifted, Jared took a step back, staring in awe. Before him lay the sleek, dark hull of a starship, unlike anything he'd ever seen. Its design was alien, smooth, and organic, as though it had been grown rather than built. Strange symbols etched along its sides glowed faintly, pulsating like a heartbeat. "What in the stars?" Jared whispered, his voice barely audible. The ship looked old, maybe even ancient, but it was intact. There wasn't a single scratch on its surface, despite being buried under layers of junk. Jared's mechanic instincts kicked in. This wasn't just some abandoned wreck. This was something special, something powerful. He ran his fingers over the glowing symbols, feeling a faint vibration beneath his touch. The ship hummed softly, almost like it was alive. Jared hesitated. Every instinct told him this wasn't a good idea, but the promise of what this ship could mean was too tempting. If he could repair it, it might be his ticket out of this miserable life. The entrance was sealed shut, but Jared spotted what looked like a panel near the side. He pried it open and found a series of wires and circuits that made no sense to him. "Great," he muttered. "Alien tech." Still, he wasn't about to give up. Using his tools, Jared fiddled with the circuits, hoping to trigger some kind of response. After a few minutes of trial and error, there was a sudden click. The ship's entrance slid open with a soft hiss, revealing a dark interior lit by faint blue lights. Jared hesitated at the threshold. The air inside felt heavy, almost oppressive, but curiosity pushed him forward. He stepped inside, his boots echoing on the smooth floor. The interior was just as strange as the exterior. Sleek walls that seemed to shift and ripple, like liquid metal frozen in time. A faint whisper filled the air, so quiet Jared thought he might be imagining it. "War protocols. Initiating." He froze. What the hell was that? Before he could move, the blue lights intensified, and a holographic figure appeared in front of him. It was humanoid but distinctly alien, with elongated limbs and a face that looked more like a mask than flesh. Its glowing eyes stared straight at him. "Unauthorized presence detected," the figure said in a cold, mechanical voice. "Identify yourself." Jared swallowed hard. "I'm Jared, just a mechanic." The figure tilted its head, studying him. "You have activated the Starpiercer class warship. State your purpose." "Starpiercer," Jared echoed, feeling a chill run down his spine. "I didn't mean to activate anything. I just found you." The hologram flickered for a moment before responding. "This vessel was decommissioned following the Eridani massacre. It is not to be reactivated." Jared didn't like the sound of that. Decommissioned? Why? What happened? The hologram didn't answer. Instead, it faded away, and the ship's systems began to hum louder. Jared's heart pounded as panels along the walls lit up, displaying alien text and diagrams he couldn't understand. It was as if the ship was coming to life around him. "Warning," the ship's voice announced. "Hostile detection systems offline. Vulnerability imminent. Vulnerability. Jared repeated. What does that mean? The ship didn't reply. Instead, a section of the floor opened, revealing a console. Jared approached it cautiously. On the screen was a single word, written in the alien language but somehow translated for him. Reactivate. Jared stared at the screen. If this ship was as powerful as it seemed, reactivating it could be the worst decision of his life. But it could also be the one thing that changed everything. Taking a deep breath, he reached out and pressed the screen. The ship's hum turned into a roar, and the glowing symbols along its walls blazed brightly. Jared barely had time to react before the hologram reappeared, its voice filled with urgency. You have awakened the Starpiercer, it said. Prepare for consequences. Jared's stomach sank. He didn't know what he'd just done, but he had a feeling there was no turning back now. The awakening. Jared stood frozen as the ship rumbled to life around him. Lights flickered along the walls, casting eerie shadows in the alien corridors. He felt the vibrations under his boots grow stronger. The voice of the hologram, cold and commanding, rang out again. Primary systems online. Awaiting command input. Command input. Jared stammered, looking around. I didn't sign up for this. What do you want from me? The hologram appeared again, this time standing taller, more imposing. Its glowing eyes seemed to pierce through him. This vessel is programmed to obey its captain. You have assumed that role by activating the core. Captain, Jared said, his voice rising. I'm not a captain. I'm just a mechanic trying to fix up a broken life, not command a ship designed for. Wait, what exactly are you designed for? The hologram hesitated. This is a Starpiercer-class vessel, designation ZRA. Its primary function is the eradication of high-threat entities. Jared blinked. Eradication. High-threat entities. You're a warship. Correct, ZRA said, its tone devoid of emotion. However, this vessel was decommissioned due to excessive collateral damage. Jared felt a chill creep up his spine. Excessive collateral damage. How excessive are we talking? The Eridani massacre resulted in the destruction of 5 planets and 1 star system. ZRA replied matter-of-factly. Survivors? None. Jared's knees felt weak. He gripped the edge of the console for support. And you expect me to fly you? No way. I'm just a guy who fixes junk. ZRA tilted its head, almost as if studying him. You have initiated the reactivation sequence. You now bear the responsibility for this vessel. Responsibility, Jared said, his voice rising. I didn't ask for this. I don't even know how to fly a starship, let alone whatever you are. Before ZRA could respond, the entire ship shuddered violently. Alarms blared, and red lights flashed across the walls. Warning, ZRA announced. Hostile signatures detected. Proximity, 0.2 light-years. Jared's heart raced. Hostile signatures. What kind of hostiles? Analysis. Darvik's scout ships. Probability of engagement, 98%. Jared's mind reeled. The Darviks were notorious across the galaxy, an empire of ruthless conquerors. If they were here, they weren't coming for a friendly chat. Scout ships. How did they find us? The activation of this vessel's core triggered a dormant distress signal, ZRA explained. They are responding to reclaim what they believe belongs to them. Jared groaned. Of course. Perfect. Just my luck. The hologram turned toward him, its glowing eyes narrowing. Prepare for defensive action. Defensive action. Jared repeated, backing away. No. I'm not fighting anyone. Can't we just hide or something? This vessel is not equipped for stealth in its current state, ZRA replied. Hostiles will arrive in 90 seconds. Jared's mind raced. He was in no shape to fight off alien warships, especially not from the cockpit of a weaponized relic he barely understood. But then, an idea struck him. You said you obey your captain, right? Correct. Then listen to me, Jared said, pointing a finger at Sierra. Don't shoot unless I say so. Got it. Sierra paused for a moment before nodding. Acknowledged. Weapons systems on standby. The seconds ticked by like hours. Jared scrambled to figure out what to do, his eyes darting across the console. He found what looked like a control interface and hesitantly placed his hands on it. The console lit up, and a web of holographic screens surrounded him, displaying a dizzying array of data: weapon status, shield strength, enemy trajectories. Captain, Zayara said, enemy ships have entered visual range. Jared swallowed hard. The screen showed 2 sleek Darvix scout ships, their spiked hulls glowing with energy. They were small but fast, designed to disable and capture, not destroy. For now, at least, they weren't firing. A voice crackled through the ship's comms. Attention, unauthorized vessel, it said in a guttural tone. This is Darvik's patrol unit. Power down your systems and prepare to be boarded. Jared's hands shook. Boarded? Oh no, that's not happening. Your command, Captain, Zara asked calmly. Jared stared at the ships on the screen. He couldn't outrun them, and surrender wasn't an option. His only choice was to scare them off or take them out. He took a deep breath and spoke. Target their engines, he said. Disable them, but no killing. Zara's holographic form flickered briefly. Compliance. Firing precision shots. The ship roared to life, and Jared felt himself pressed into the seat as the Starpiercer unleashed its first attack. Twin beams of energy shot out, striking the Darvik ships with pinpoint accuracy. Sparks flew from their engines, and both vessels spun out of control, drifting aimlessly in space. Jared exhaled in relief. That wasn't so bad. Hostile reinforcements inbound, Zara announced. Estimated arrival, 3 minutes. Jared's stomach dropped. Reinforcements. How many? Approximately 12 ships, Zara replied, including a command cruiser. Jared's relief vanished. He looked at Zara, his voice trembling. You're supposed to be a warship, right? Then let's see what you've got. Zara's glowing eyes brightened, initiating advanced protocols. The walls around Jared shifted, revealing hidden panels bristling with weaponry. The ship's hum grew louder, resonating like a beast awakening from slumber. Jared clenched his fists, his fear giving way to determination. Let's show them why they should have left you in the junkyard. The first test. Jared gripped the console as the ship roared to life, the hum of its systems now a thunderous growl. Lights flickered in rapid succession, illuminating the sleek and ominous interior. Zara's voice cut through the tension, calm but commanding. Hostile fleet entering optimal firing range. Engaging advanced targeting systems. Hold on, Jared shouted, panic creeping into his voice. I told you, no killing unless I say so. Zara's holographic form materialized next to him, its glowing eyes narrowing. Disabling tactics will reduce efficiency by 82%. Hostile reinforcements may overwhelm this vessel. Jared pointed a shaky finger at the console. I don't care about your efficiency. Do as I say, or I'm pulling every wire in this ship. Zara hesitated, its form flickering slightly before replying. Acknowledged. Non-lethal protocols engage, disabling targets. The view screen in front of Jared zoomed in, showing the incoming Darvik's fleet. Sleek black ships darted through the void, their spiked hulls glinting under the distant starlight. At the center of the formation was the command cruiser, a massive vessel bristling with weapons. Jared's throat tightened. 12 ships against us. He glanced around at the Starpiercer's interior, its alien walls pulsating faintly as if alive. You better have something up your sleeve, Zayara. This vessel's firepower exceeds that of the current opposition, Zayara said flatly. Success depends on operator competency. Jared scowled. Great. No pressure. The first wave of Darvik ships approached, their engines glowing hot as they split into attack formations. Jared's hands trembled over the controls, his mind racing. He wasn't a fighter, let alone a pilot. But he had to try. Target their engines, Jared shouted. Disable as many as you can before they get too close. The ship's response was instant. A volley of precision energy beams shot out from concealed ports along its hull, slicing through the darkness. The first two Darvik ships spun wildly, their engines sputtering as sparks erupted from their rear thrusters. 2 down, HFY reported. 10 remain. Hostile weapons systems charging. Jared barely had time to react before the enemy ships returned fire. Bolts of plasma screamed toward the Starpiercer, but the ship's shields flared to life, absorbing the impacts with a brilliant flash of energy. Shields holding at 92%. HFY said, recommend counteroffensive measures. Jared gritted his teeth. I'm working on it. He scanned the console, trying to make sense of the alien symbols. A blinking icon caught his attention. What's this? He asked, tapping it. The ship shuddered as a new weapon system activated. Panels slid open along its sides, revealing what looked like glowing orbs of liquid light. They pulsated rhythmically, growing brighter with each pulse. Graviton disruptors armed, HFY announced, capable of neutralizing multiple hostiles in a single engagement. Jared's eyebrows shot up. Neutralizing. You mean disabling, right? Correct. Graviton disruptors temporarily collapse localized gravity fields, rendering enemy ships inoperable. Jared's lips curved into a grin. Now we're talking. Fire those disruptors. The orbs launched from the ship's hull, streaking toward the enemy fleet like comets. As they neared their targets, they exploded in bursts of shimmering energy. The surrounding Darvik ships veered off course, their engines sputtering as they drifted helplessly. 6 vessels disabled, HFY reported. 4 remain operational. Jared punched the air. Yes, we might actually have a chance. But his celebration was short-lived. The command cruiser unleashed a massive plasma cannon, its fiery blast slamming into the Starpiercer's shields. The impact threw Jared off his seat, and warning lights blared across the console. Shields at 47%, HFY said. The command cruiser poses a significant threat. Jared scrambled back to his seat, his heart pounding. Can we disable it? Negative, HFY replied. The cruiser's defenses are too robust for non-lethal measures. Recommend obliteration. Jared clenched his fists. No, we're not obliterating anything. There has to be another way. HFY was silent for a moment before responding. Alternative solution identified. Tactical cloaking systems can be temporarily activated to approach the cruiser undetected. Tactical cloaking, Jared said, his voice rising. You didn't mention that before. System integrity was previously compromised, HFY explained. Repairs completed during engagement. Jared let out a shaky breath. Fine. Activate the cloak. The ship shimmered, its hull dissolving into the darkness like a ghost. Jared's breath caught as the view screen dimmed, showing the approaching cruiser unaware of their position. Cloak engaged, HFY confirmed. Approaching target. Jared watched as the Starpiercer glided silently toward the massive enemy ship. His palms were sweaty, and his pulse thundered in his ears. This was his chance to end the fight without further bloodshed. As they neared the cruiser, HFY spoke again. We are within range to disable critical systems, awaiting command. Jared hesitated, his finger hovering over the control panel. Just don't destroy it. Disable their weapons and engines. That's it. Compliance, HFY said. The Starpiercer unleashed a precise burst of energy, striking the cruiser's main reactor. Sparks erupted from the enemy ship as its lights flickered and dimmed. The remaining Darvik ships, now leaderless, retreated into the void. Jared slumped back in his seat, letting out a long sigh of relief. We did it. Hostile forces neutralized, Zaire confirmed. Temporary victory achieved. Jared glared at the hologram. Temporary. What does that mean? Zaire's eyes glowed ominously. This engagement has likely alerted other factions. Additional hostiles may be en route. Jared buried his face in his hands. Of course, because it's never that easy. As the ship drifted in the silent aftermath of battle, Jared couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. Whatever he'd awakened, it wasn't going to let him go quietly. The pursuit. Jared leaned back in the pilot's chair, his breath still shaky from the battle. The Starpiercer hummed quietly now, its systems stabilizing after the engagement. He stared at the endless void on the view screen, a mix of relief and dread settling in his chest. That was too close, he muttered. Way too close. Analysis. Zaire's voice broke through the quiet. Probability of additional hostiles arriving within the next cycle exceeds 85%. Recommendation. Immediate relocation. Jared sat up, rubbing his temples. Relocation. Where am I supposed to go? They'll track us again, won't they? Zaire's hologram materialized beside him, its translucent form radiating an air of calm authority. Darvik's ships utilize quantum markers for pursuit. This vessel's current systems can suppress those markers temporarily. Jared raised an eyebrow. Temporarily? How long is that? Approximately 23 standard hours, Zaire replied. Insufficient for permanent evasion. Jared sighed, running a hand through his messy hair. Great. So, no matter where I go, they'll find me. Just what I needed. Suddenly, the ship's sensors lit up with new alerts. Zaire's tone shifted, now sharp and urgent. Hostile reinforcements detected. Estimated arrival. 8 minutes. Jared's stomach twisted. Already? You said we had hours. Correction, Zaire said. Anomalous energy signatures indicate a Darvik's hyperjump relay in close proximity. Jared shot to his feet, pacing in the cramped cockpit. A relay? You're telling me they can jump straight to us? Affirmative. Tactical options required. Jared clenched his fists, his mind racing. He couldn't fight another fleet, not after barely surviving the last encounter. But running seemed impossible with that relay in play. Then it hit him, a dangerous, reckless idea. What if we take out the relay? Jared asked, his voice steadier than he felt. Zaire's eyes flickered. Risk assessment. 72% chance of success. 28% chance of immediate destruction. Alternative scenarios suggest. I don't care about your alternatives, Jared interrupted. If we don't destroy that relay, they'll keep chasing us until I'm dead, or worse. A hologram paused, then gave a faint nod. Calculating approach vector. Cloaking systems will be engaged. Jared dropped back into the pilot's seat as the ship shifted course. The faint hum of the cloaking systems activated again, rendering the Starpiercer invisible to all but the most advanced scans. He gripped the controls tightly, his eyes fixed on the relay's coordinates as they appeared on the screen. The relay was a massive structure, a glittering array of interconnected rings floating in space. It pulsed with an eerie blue glow, sending ripples of energy through the surrounding void. Jared could see the faint outlines of Darvik's patrol ships circling the structure like vultures around a fresh kill. Relay defenses detected, Zaire announced. Primary weapon systems online. Awaiting command. Jared exhaled slowly, his fingers hovering over the controls. We'll take them by surprise. Target their energy cores. Disable them if we can. If not. He hesitated, then shook his head. Just make sure we get out of this alive. Compliance, Zaire said. The Starpiercer surged forward, its cloaked form slipping past the patrols undetected. Jared's heart pounded as they neared the relay. Every instinct screamed at him to turn back, to find another way. But there was no other way. Not now. Optimal firing range reached, Zaire reported. Executing attack sequence. Jared watched as the ship unleashed a barrage of precise energy pulses. The glowing orbs of the graviton disruptors shot out, striking the relay's outer rings. Sparks and arcs of energy erupted from the structure as the disruptors destabilized its core. The Darvik's patrol ships scrambled in response, their sleek forms darting toward the Starpiercer. Jared gritted his teeth. They've spotted us. Can we hold them off? Engaging defensive maneuvers, Zarai replied. The Starpiercer twisted and rolled, evading incoming fire with unnerving agility. Its weapons fired in calculated bursts, disabling 2 of the patrol ships in quick succession. Jared clung to the controls, his knuckles white, as he struggled to keep up with the ship's movements. "We're not out of this yet," he muttered, his eyes darting to the view screen. The relay's energy output was spiking, its rings spinning faster and faster as they destabilized. How much longer until that thing blows? "Detonation imminent," Zayara said. "Recommendation: immediate retreat." Jared didn't need to be told twice. "Get us out of here." The Starpiercer accelerated away from the relay, its engines roaring as the structure behind them began to collapse. Jared watched on the rear camera feed as the relay's core imploded, sending shockwaves rippling through space. The remaining Darvik ships scattered, caught off guard by the sudden destruction. Jared let out a shaky laugh, leaning back in his seat. "We did it. We actually did it." "Relay neutralize," Zayorai confirmed. "Hostile pursuit delayed. Estimated time before reinforcements arrive: 46 hours. Jared's smile faded. 46 hours. That's all. "This vessel's location remains compromised," Zayorai said. "Further action required." Jared groaned, rubbing his temples. "Of course it is, because nothing's ever simple." He stared out at the endless expanse of space, the weight of what he'd just done settling over him. The Darviks wouldn't stop. They'd come back stronger, angrier, and more determined than ever. And Jared wasn't sure how much longer he could keep running. But one thing was clear: he wasn't going to give up. Not yet. Not while he had the Starpiercer, and maybe, just maybe, a chance to turn the tables. The transformation. Jared slumped against the Starpiercer's console, his body heavy with exhaustion. The relentless pursuit and the destruction of the Darvik's relay had bought him time, but not enough. 46 hours wasn't much, especially with a galaxy of hostile forces on his tail. "Zera," he said, his voice hoarse. "We can't keep running forever. If we're going to survive, we need an edge. Something they won't see coming." The hologram materialized beside him, its glowing eyes narrowing. "This vessel's existing capabilities exceed most known threats. However, current defensive measures are insufficient against a prolonged assault." "Then we need upgrades," Jared said, his mind racing. "You've got advanced tech, but I got something you don't: human ingenuity." Zayara tilted its head, the faintest hint of curiosity in its otherwise emotionless voice. "Clarify your intention." Jared stood, stretching his aching limbs. "I'm a mechanic, remember. If I can figure out how to integrate human tech with your systems, we might be able to create something they've never seen before. Hybridization of technologies poses significant risks," Zayara said. "Compatibility is untested." Jared grinned, his confidence returning despite the odds. Untested doesn't mean impossible. "Let's get to work." Jared spent the next several hours crawling through the Starpiercer's labyrinthine interior, marveling at its alien design. The ship seemed almost alive, its walls pulsating faintly as though responding to his presence. Every panel he opened revealed a maze of intricate circuits and glowing conduits, far beyond anything he'd ever encountered. "This isn't just a ship," Jared muttered to himself. "It's something else." "Observation is accurate," Zayora said, its voice echoing through the corridor. "This vessel's design incorporates biomechanical elements. It adapts and evolves over time." "Evolves?" Jared paused, wiping sweat from his brow. "You mean this ship can upgrade itself?" "Within limits," Zayora replied. "External input accelerates the process." Jared smirked. "Good. Then let's push those limits. He began by scavenging parts from the ship's auxiliary systems, carefully analyzing the alien technology and comparing it to the human tools he had on board. Using his plasma cutter and a handful of salvaged components, Jared rigged a makeshift adapter to bridge the gap between human and alien tech. "Zara, let's start small," he said, connecting the adapter to one of the ship's secondary weapon systems. "Try integrating this into your targeting array." The ship hummed softly as Zara processed the input. A moment later, the targeting system lit up with new indicators. "Integration successful," Zara announced. "Human modifications have increased targeting efficiency by 12%. Jared let out a triumphant laugh. "Told you it would work. Now, let's see what else we can improve." As the hours ticked by, Jared's confidence grew. He enhanced the Starpiercer's energy shields by adapting human heat dissipation tech, reducing the strain on the ship's core during prolonged battles. He also modified the graviton disruptors, increasing their range and precision by incorporating Earth-based frequency modulators. The most significant upgrade, however, was to the ship's propulsion system. Jared had always dreamed of building something revolutionary, and now he had the chance. Using components from the Starpiercer's damaged auxiliary thrusters, he designed a hybrid engine capable of short-distance quantum jumps, a feature that Darviks wouldn't expect. "Quantum jump prototype ready for testing," Zara said as Jared finished the final connections. Jared wiped his greasy hands on his jumpsuit, exhaustion giving way to excitement. "Let's hope this works." The ship's hum deepened as the new engine activated. Jared gripped the console tightly, his heart pounding. The stars outside the view screen blurred for a moment before snapping back into focus. "Jump successful," Zara reported. "Range extended by 37%. Jared let out a whoop of victory. "We're getting there. Now let's test the firepower." The first real test of the Starpiercer's new capabilities came sooner than expected. As Jared worked on fine-tuning the systems, Zara's alarms blared. Hostile signatures detected. Darvik's interceptors approaching. Jared's stomach clenched. "Already? How many?" "4 ships," Zara replied. "Engagement imminent." Jared's hands flew across the console. "All right, Zara. Let's see what our upgrades can do. Activate shields and charge the disruptors." The Starpiercer surged forward, its newly enhanced systems responding with precision. The Darvik ships opened fire, plasma bolts streaking toward the Starpiercer, but the hybrid shields absorbed the attacks effortlessly, dispersing the energy like ripples in water. Jared grinned. "Not so tough now, are you?" He triggered the upgraded graviton disruptors, which unleashed a wave of shimmering energy. The Darvik ships scrambled to evade, but the disruptors' extended range caught 2 of them, rendering their systems inert. The remaining ships attempted to flank the Starpiercer, but Jared activated the quantum jump engine. In an instant, the ship vanished, reappearing behind the Darvik's vessels. With their backs exposed, the Starpiercer's precision weapons disabled their engines with surgical accuracy. "All hostiles neutralized," Zara announced. "Hybrid systems performing at 96% efficiency." Jared leaned back in his seat, his heart racing. "We just turned their cutting-edge warships into scrap. Feels good, doesn't it?" Zara's hologram flickered, its tone almost impressed. "Your modifications have exceeded expectations." Jared chuckled, shaking his head. "We're just getting started. If the Darviks want to fight, let's make sure they regret it." As the Starpiercer drifted silently in the aftermath of battle, Jared couldn't help but feel a spark of hope. He wasn't just running anymore. He was fighting back. And with each upgrade, the Starpiercer was becoming something more than a warship. It was becoming a weapon they would never see coming. The showdown. Jared sat in the Starpiercer's cockpit, his gaze fixed on the holo-display. A vast Darvik's fleet filled the screen, more ships than he could count. Cruisers, interceptors, and heavy dreadnoughts loomed like predators closing in on their prey. This was no patrol or scouting mission. This was an armada. Zahra's voice broke the silence, calm but edged with urgency. Hostile fleet detected. Composition: 47 ships. Primary objective: reclaim or destroy this vessel. Jared's heart sank, but he clenched his fists. Reclaim or destroy, huh? I guess they're not here to negotiate. He looked over the console, the ship's new hybrid systems glowing faintly. Weeks ago, he would have panicked at the thought of taking on a fleet of this size. But now, with the Starpiercer fully upgraded and humming with power, he felt a flicker of confidence. "Zahra," he said, his voice steady, "give me options." The hologram appeared beside him, her translucent form rippling like water. "Standard protocols recommend retreat. However, the fleet's formation suggests minimal vulnerabilities." Jared smirked. "Retreat, that's not my style. Let's make them regret showing up." Zahra tilted her head slightly. "Clarify strategy." Jared leaned forward, his mind racing. "We don't fight them head-on. That's suicide. But if we hit them where it hurts, we might just survive. Target their command ships, their cruisers and dreadnoughts. Take out their leadership, and the rest will fall apart." "Acknowledged," Zahra said, calculating attack vector. The ship shifted, its engines roaring as it surged toward the heart of the enemy fleet. Jared's hands hovered over the controls, ready for the fight of his life. As the Starpiercer approached the fleet, the Darvik ships began to reposition, forming a tight wall of firepower. Plasma cannons glowed ominously, their barrels aimed directly at Jared. "Incoming fire," Zahra warned. Jared braced himself. "Activate hybrid shields. Let's see how well they hold up." The first volley of plasma bolts slammed into the Starpiercer, but the hybrid shields absorbed the impacts effortlessly. Energy rippled across the ship's hull like a shimmering aurora, dissipating the blasts. "Shields holding at 89%, Zahra reported. "Counteroffensive recommended." Jared grinned. "Let's give them a taste of our new tricks. Deploy graviton disruptors." The Starpiercer unleashed a wave of energy bursts, each one striking a Darvik's cruiser. The disruptors destabilized the enemy ships, sending them spiraling out of formation. The once imposing wall of firepower began to crumble. 3 cruisers disabled, Zahra announced. "Dreadnought targeting systems recalibrating." Jared's smile faded. "Recalibrating? What does that mean?" Before Zahra could respond, the largest dreadnought in the fleet fired its main weapon, a beam of concentrated energy that cut through space like a scythe. Jared's eyes widened as the beam raced toward them. "Brace," he shouted. The beam struck the Starpiercer's shields, shaking the entire ship. Warning lights flashed across the console as Jared struggled to keep the vessel steady. "Shields at 57%, Zahra said. "Sustained fire will result in critical failure." Jared gritted his teeth. "We need to take out that dreadnought. What are our options?" Zahra hesitated. "The obliterator cannon is the only weapon capable of neutralizing a target of this size. However, its use carries significant risks." Jared glanced at the console, where the activation switch for the obliterator cannon glowed faintly. He had avoided using the weapon for a reason. Its power was devastating, but the collateral damage was uncontrollable. "How bad are we talking?" Jared asked. "Activation may destabilize local spacetime," Zahra replied. "Probability of unintended consequences, 62%. Jared clenched his fists, his mind racing. He didn't have time to weigh the consequences. The dreadnought was already charging for another shot, and the rest of the fleet was closing in fast. "Do it," he said. "Activate the cannon." The ship's hum deepened, resonating with a sound that made Jared's chest vibrate. Panels along the Starpiercer's hull slid open, revealing a massive weapon system that pulsed with blinding light. Energy crackled across the cannon's surface as it prepared to fire. "Target locked," Zahra said. "Firing sequence initiated." The obliterator cannon unleashed a beam of energy that tore through space, its brightness overwhelming. The dreadnought had no chance. The beam struck its core, and the massive ship erupted in a cascade of fire and debris. The shockwave rippled outward, sending smaller ships spinning out of control. Jared shielded his eyes from the blast. When the light faded, the view screen showed the aftermath. A shattered formation of Darvik's ships, their once mighty fleet in disarray. Primary target neutralized, ZRA announced. Remaining hostiles retreating. Jared let out a shaky laugh, slumping back in his seat. We did it. We actually did it. Warning, ZRA said, her voice cutting through his relief. Spatial anomalies detected. The obliterator cannon's activation has destabilized the local space-time continuum. Jared's stomach sank. What does that mean? Before ZRA could answer, the view screen flickered, showing strange distortions rippling across the stars. Space itself seemed to twist and bend, as though reality was unraveling. Immediate evacuation recommended, ZRA said. This region is no longer stable. Jared gripped the controls, his heart racing. Fine. Let's get out of here. Engage the quantum jump engine. The Starpiercer surged forward, leaving the chaos behind. As they entered the safety of open space, Jared exhaled deeply, his body trembling with adrenaline. He glanced at ZRA's hologram, a weary smile on his face. We survived. That's what matters. But deep down, he couldn't shake the feeling that the worst was yet to come. Whatever the obliterator cannon had unleashed, it wasn't just the Darviks he had to worry about anymore. Something far greater was stirring in the shadows, and Jared knew he had only scratched the surface of the Starpiercer's true power and the dangers it carried. The legend. The Starpiercer glided through the void, silent and imposing. Jared sat in the cockpit, staring at the distorted space on the view screen behind them. The obliterator cannon had done its job. Too well. The Darvik's fleet was shattered, but the space-time anomaly it left behind rippled ominously, a scar on reality itself. We can't stay here, Jared said, his voice heavy with exhaustion. That anomaly's going to attract attention. The kind we don't want. Agreed, ZRA replied, her tone as calm as ever. However, long-range sensors indicate multiple incoming signatures. Jared groaned, rubbing his temples. More Darvik ships. Negative, ZRA said. Unknown entities. Energy readings suggest advanced technology, potentially exceeding Darvik's capabilities. Jared's blood ran cold. Exceeding the Darviks? You're kidding. Analysis. Probability of non-hostile intent, 12%. Jared slammed his fist on the console. Fantastic. What's next? Space gods coming to punish me for using that cannon. Before ZRA could respond, the ship's comm system crackled to life. A deep, resonant voice filled the cockpit, speaking in a language Jared didn't recognize. The words were alien, but their tone was unmistakably commanding. ZRA, Jared said, his voice barely above a whisper. Translation. Translation unavailable, ZRA replied. This language does not exist within known databases. Jared's heart pounded. Whoever, or whatever, was out there wasn't just advanced. They were something entirely unknown. The incoming ships emerged from the anomaly like wraiths, their forms sleek and angular, glowing faintly with an otherworldly energy. Jared couldn't even count how many there were. Hundreds, maybe thousands. Each one moved with eerie precision, as though they were parts of a single, unified entity. Energy readings spiking, ZRA said. They are scanning us. Jared swallowed hard. Let them scan. We're not firing unless they do. The alien ships encircled the Starpiercer, their movements deliberate and controlled. Jared's palms were sweaty as he tightened his grip on the controls, ready for the slightest sign of hostility. But instead of attacking, the largest ship moved forward, its massive form dominating the view screen. A hologram flickered to life in the cockpit, replacing Zayara's image. It was a towering figure, humanoid but impossibly alien, its body shimmering like liquid metal. Its eyes glowed with a piercing light as it gazed at Jared. "You are not Darvix," the figure said in perfect English. Its voice was calm, almost curious. Jared blinked in surprise. "Ah, no, definitely not." "You command the Starpiercer," the figure continued. "A vessel of destruction, long thought lost." Jared hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "I didn't command it. I found it, and I've been trying not to use it to blow up half the galaxy, so you're welcome." The figure tilted its head, as though considering his response. The Starpiercer was created by those who sought to dominate. Its purpose is annihilation. Yet, you have altered it. Jared's breath caught. "You know about the upgrades." The figure nodded. "We observed. Your actions have changed its nature. The Starpiercer is no longer a weapon of war. It is a symbol of defiance." Jared blinked, unsure how to respond. Defiance? Against what? The figure's glowing eyes seemed to burn brighter. Against those who would control and destroy. Against the Darvix and all others who seek to rule through fear. Jared's mind raced. "And you? Who are you?" "We are the Watchers," the figure said. "Guardians of balance. The anomaly created by your weapon has drawn our attention. Its destabilization threatens the fabric of existence." Jared groaned. "Great, so I screwed up the universe. What else is new?" The Watcher's expression didn't change. "You have also proven potential." Jared raised an eyebrow. "Potential? For what?" "To wield the Starpiercer not as a tool of destruction, but as an instrument of balance," the Watcher said. "You are unique." Jared laughed bitterly. "Unique? I'm just a mechanic who got lucky, or unlucky, depending on how you look at it. Your actions suggest otherwise," the Watcher replied. "Few would have made the choices you have. Fewer still would have survived." Jared sighed, leaning back in his seat. "So what now? Are you here to take the ship? Destroy it?" "What?" The Watcher shook its head. "The Starpiercer is no longer ours to claim. It has bonded to you. Its fate is yours to decide." The weight of those words hit Jared like a freight train. "You're saying, I'm stuck with this thing?" "Correct," the Watcher said. "However, your path is your own. Use the Starpiercer wisely, and it may become a force for change. Use it recklessly, and it will destroy you." Jared rubbed his temples, his mind spinning. He looked up at the Watcher, determination hardening his features. "Fine, I'll take responsibility. But I'm not doing it alone. If I'm supposed to be this force for change, I'm going to need help." The Watcher's eyes glowed brighter. "We shall observe. Perhaps intervene if necessary. But for now, your fate is your own." The hologram vanished, and the alien fleet began to retreat, slipping back into the void as silently as they had arrived. Jared sat in stunned silence, the cockpit eerily quiet. "Observation," Zayara said, reappearing beside him. "Your diplomacy was adequate." Jared laughed, the sound almost hysterical. "Adequate? I think I just talked my way out of getting vaporized. That's got to count for something." Zayara's eyes flickered. "It is an acceptable outcome." Jared leaned back, staring out at the stars. The galaxy was a mess. The Starpiercer was a ticking time bomb, and now he had the attention of godlike beings who called themselves the Watchers. But for the first time, Jared felt something new, a sense of purpose. The Starpiercer wasn't just a weapon. It was a chance to make a difference. "All right," he said, gripping the controls. "Let's see what this thing can really do." The Starpiercer roared to life, its engines blazing as it soared into the unknown, leaving the scars of battle behind. A new legend was born, one that would echo across the galaxy for generations to come.